Hi.
Well, hello there. Well, today I'm on a go-to-meeting conference with Linn, and Linn is a burnout coach. And Kori, you say you teach women in tech how to crush it at work without crushing themselves. Um,
Yeah.
but I also notice you don't just do tech because you do a couple of other companies. You recently said you met with HBO, Nestle, Providence. And then, of course, Zillow and Expedia and all the other Seattle tech companies. But why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do in your practice?
Yeah. Well, and so that list of companies, they're all lovely and wonderful. Those are companies where I've either spoken to the company, some part of the company, or I've had a client from there. So my main focus is women in tech. I used to be a woman in tech, but I find that high achieving women in many different areas tend to experience a lot of the same stuff. And so I work with people who really love to achieve big results, but they're currently either not achieving as big of results as they want to, or they're experiencing some burnout with the way they're doing things. And yes, and so what I do in my practice is I work one-on-one with clients, or I go and speak to companies to basically help them understand how to achieve in a way that is more like using a renewable resource, because the way a lot of us achieve is more like burning coal.
When a person in tech loses their job, now we're dealing with what's happening in COVID-19. Everybody stay at home. Several people are losing their job. Um, we're having massive layoffs. I think Seattle's up to, or Washington is up to 11% unemployment right now. What would be the first thing that you would recommend to a person who loses their job?
Yeah, so the thing about losing a job is that people do tend to get very stressed out, but they also respond in really individual ways. So different people, I would actually recommend different things, but for an on the whole recommendation, I think there are two things that are really important. And one of those things is giving yourself the time and space to like to grieve or be sad or be angry about that loss. It's a pretty big change. I personally have been laid off, and it was before I was a coach and had these tools, and it was very difficult. It was a very challenging time. I was exhausted all the time. I was so hard on myself for like having gotten into that position. But the thing is, like in life, sometimes people do get laid off. So we need to learn how to work through that. So taking the time to let yourself feel your feelings, which doesn't mean like getting very involved in your story about what happened, but it actually just means like allowing yourself to be sad for a few minutes and maybe cry and then move on. And that allowing is really important, because when we try to push our feelings away, they kind of try to push back. And the way that the human brain works, when we don't let ourselves have our feelings, then our brain kind of gets the idea that our feelings are like a threat, and it will actually like create fear or anxiety about the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but like that's something to do a little bit of, like not all day long. So like maybe set a timer for 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be a lot. Do that. And then we want to come over into this space of what would I like to do now? When we get laid off, a lot of us are just very overwhelmed. Like it's such a big task in our heads to get this next job. But every huge task, every big, beautiful thing anyone's ever done can always be broken down into small, doable things. So you don't actually have to know how to get your next job, but what you need to know is figure out a few things you can do right now and then do them. Just like do them with like full attention to doing them and without getting overwhelmed by the idea of everything you'll have to do. So that's how everything gets done. But especially when people have been laid off, they tend to panic and they think about all that stuff and how hard it's going to be, and then they don't do anything. So a small action is better, right? People get this idea that they should be doing 100%. No, 20% is more than zero. If 20% is what you can do, it's amazing and it's enough.
Now, when people lose their jobs, do you feel that there's a difference between when a man loses their job versus a woman loses their job?
Well, so men and women Again, it's really going to depend by individual, but we also have different social programming, right? Social conditioning that we've received since we were children. And I think there's difficulties for both categories. So I do think that the way we respond is different, but I also think the other demographics and psychographics of that experience matter a lot. For anyone who is in a marginalized group, though, or something like that, or a group that is often discriminated against in the workplace, then there's also that, I think, added thing to consider when they think about getting their next job. But I'm a big fan of the idea that you don't need a million jobs, you just need one. And I think really framing it down like that can help you to realize that even in a difficult situation, a difficult job market, even if you're worried because you're part of a protected class or you're older, there can still be an opportunity for you. I think sometimes we get very bogged down by like a general idea of we won't get a job, and that doesn't necessarily have to be true for anyone.
And there's always people who will say, I want to get the perfect job. Do you think
Yeah, but there is no perfect job, just like there is no perfect person. Sorry to interrupt. I get like very passionate. People are like, I just want to never make mistakes. And I'm like, me too, but that's not what being a human is. And when we aim for that, then we just wind up disappointed.
Now, it's obvious that we're not going to recover from what's going on overnight. And actually, we're going to have a process of probably, reintroducing work into a different world. What do you recommend for people who are going to be looking for work for an extended period of time where people are still being laid off? What are your suggestions?
Okay, yeah. So people who are going to be looking for work for an extended period of time, and that's probably going to be some people. When I was laid off, it wasn't a recession, and I think it still took me about 5 months. And I remember at the beginning of that thinking like there was no way I was going to be able to handle it. I basically thought I was going to die, which logically we're not, right? We mostly know we're not going to die. Like maybe we have to do something we don't prefer, like take on credit card debt or move in with our parents or get roommates or sell something. But because it's this idea of uncertainty, there is part of our brain that actually thinks like maybe we're going to die. So I do think there's an element of like calming your own nervous system down. So in something like a layoff, we tend to get like, oh my God, I've been laid off. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It won't be okay until I get my next job. But the problem with that is you've just created like 6 or 7 stress cycles on top of the basic layer, which is job hunt. That's going to be like its own thing, and that's manageable. But it's like when we like add all this emotional stuff on top of it, it makes it difficult to show up in a calm, measured way because we're basically in fight or flight kind of all the time, and then we wear ourselves out emotionally, and then we can't show up to the job search. So if you are going to be maybe doing this for an extended period of time, it's about doing it sustainably. So a lot of people tend to do this thing where they just apply to every job and they panic and they bite their nails and they don't sleep at night. And I realize that it can be hard to stop doing those things when you're in a stress cycle. That's why the first thing we need to do is like calm ourselves down. It's okay. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to take care of myself. How we talk to ourselves inside our own heads matters so much when we've been laid off and we're looking for a job, or when we're looking for a job for any reason. So like calming ourselves down, reminding ourselves that we are going to figure it out. We're going to take care of ourselves, and then setting reasonable goals where, again, we take that big project, we break it down into actions, we calendar those actions, and then we do them. And then the other thing that's really important is like if you have 4 hours, 5 hours calendared in a day and you do them, relax. Watch a TV show. If you're a drinking person, have a glass of wine. Don't have 2 bottles of wine. That's a different thing. That's avoid it. But the idea that like we don't, like people tend to try to like be getting a new job around the clock, and that's not sustainable, right? You will burn out if you do it that way. So, and like when you take a measured, calm approach, part of your brain is going to be like, we're not moving fast enough. You really have to be wise to like trying to be more frantic doesn't necessarily create better results faster, right? Better results are created by slow, measured, thoughtful action repeated over time.
Right. And I also think part of the process too is bringing in a professional like yourself to help, So as a coach, what do you provide to this process?
Yeah,
What can somebody expect when they work with you?
for sure. There are a lot of professionals who can help in a job search. I am a coach, so I take my own medicine. I have my own coaches. I would always recommend coaching. And for some people, there are other things they may want to, like professional resume writer and stuff like that. But what a coach in particular and a mindset coach like myself, that's the style of coaching I do. It's based on mindset and neuroscience and understanding the connection between how we think and how we behave.
Mhm.
So what a coach like me is going to help people do is remove obstacles so that they can take action. So in stressful situations, people can sometimes go off the rails. They're not taking action. They're procrastinating. They'll have a whole list of everything they know they should be doing, but they won't be doing any of it. A coach like
Mhm.
me comes in and helps them understand what's getting in the way of them doing it, and then helps them do it and helps them do that sustainable part. Um,
Mhm.
I think for a lot of people, like a coach just kind of helps you go at hyperspeed.
And that's what I believe. Same thing with I'm a financial advisor, so I'm helping people go through. I say, let me take that stuff off your plate.
Hmm.
Because why should you be worrying and going crazy about those things? And I'll work with you on that. But here, talk to this person because these are the anxieties, and that you're having in this whole process. So
Hmm.
that's where I feel working collaboratively with individuals like you and, other people who can solve problems, like you said before, things you control and you can't control.
Hmm.
Well, you might not be able to control them, but you might be able to bring in somebody like a coach who can help you learn how to control some of these things, and other professionals who can help you learn how to control some of the financial stuff and some of the health stuff or whatever, insurance stuff or whatever else the individual needs while they're going through this whole process. Because life keeps on going, even when you are looking for a job, you still have to live
It
during that whole
certainly
process.
does.
So
Hmm.
how I know you do a lot of speaking and you have a very good social presence on social media. So
Thank you.
if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you, and where can they follow you?
Yeah, so people can come and find me at www.korilinn.com. That's KORILINN.com. And then I'm also on Instagram, and it's the same at Kori Linn, KORILINN. And yeah, I love to hear from people. I send out a newsletter every week that I get lots of lovely replies that it's very helpful, and you can sign up for that via my website. And I'm currently accepting one-on-one clients and taking on speaking opportunities because I love getting into organizations to help them really understand, at a team level, how that they can be more productive with less anxiety.
Well, very good. Well, I
Yeah.
really appreciated your time today, and I know we could probably sit on this and go forever because I've been an athlete, almost in my life, so I understand the idea behind a coach, and I understand the
Mm-hmm.
idea behind mindset. So I can't tell people how in everything they do, just like you said, the coaches have coaches,
Yeah.
and this is how we get things done and get things taken care of. So
Yeah.
again,
I Well, I love that and I love that you mentioned that about athletes, because I think that's such an easy way for us to show people. It's like athletes hire coaches when they want more incredible results than the ones they can create for themselves, and that's exactly what it happens with the kind of coach that I am too.
Mhm.
People hire me when they want more incredible work results than they're currently getting on their own. And it's not that people can't get really far on their own. They totally can. But sometimes
Mhm.
when you want to get really far faster, you need someone else to come in and help you see what's blocking you from doing that and make it available to you. So just wanted to add that. And thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to chat with you. I hope you have a great day.
Yes, yes, and to give my regards to your other half as well.
I will. All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.